evening, everyone, and welcome to this Sunday's rendition of Speak Your Mind with Larry Cox. And tonight, we are going to have two gentlemen join us, two special guests, and they're known throughout the community here in Rockdale County. It'll be Mr. Justin Kinney and Mr. Alex McDonald, and they will be joining us. So, the guys tonight, share, like the show. Let's get everybody in this conversation as I bring these two gentlemen on and introduce them. Good evening, Justin. Good evening, Alex. How are you gentlemen doing today?
What's up, Larry?
Hey, Larry. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome, guys. You're welcome. It's great to have you guys on the show this evening, and I am going to silence my phone because I didn't, and it's already chirping with people sending me text messages. You know how that goes, right? So everybody liking to get in on the action. So what I want to do first is I like to start off the show saying hello to folks and then move on from that. So Danielle Munoz, Danielle, welcome to the show from way up north. Chuck Turner, welcome to the show. Dan Burks. Chuck Hall, not Chuck Turner. I know a Chuck Turner. I got you guys confused a second. Lisa Lancaster, thanks for joining the show. Miss Samantha Smaney, thanks for joining the show. James Colbert, thanks for joining the show. Charlotte Gellert, nice to see you here tonight. Marie Withers, Clayton Orwig, Cheryl Moulton, Mary Boysworth, Sherry Thomas, thank you for joining. And I know other people will be joining us as we continue with the show this evening. Again, share, like the show. Let's build the audience because we're going to have some interesting conversation this evening that I don't think you guys are going to want to miss. First of all, one thing I want to talk about tonight, and you guys can chime in and put your comment on this if you want. So yesterday was the inaugural Veterans Day Parade for Rockdale County. I attended the event yesterday, and I'm just going to tell you, it was a great event. It was a classy event. The county did a fantastic job of putting this parade on, and I want to personally thank Chairperson Van Ness for the efforts that she put in, and the celebration that she did for our veterans here in Rockdale County. It was a great event, and I just want to thank them for doing it. And Justin, I want to thank you for actually marching in the parade yesterday
and carrying a child while doing it. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you were like, you really got that thing with that. How the military guys carry that backpack. You had your own living backpack, right?
Yeah, at least their backpack stays still, though. Mine did not.
And I seen where your post, you said that she was protesting and you had to carry her.
Well, she was protesting having to walk, and so I put her on my shoulders for the duration of the parade. And then when we got to the end, she wanted to tell me that her back hurt. Just all the stress that went on, that she had to endure riding Daddy's back through the whole parade.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! So yeah, but it was a great inaugural parade, and I think that's only going to grow moving forward. And it was a great event honoring our veterans here in Rockdale County. So again, thank you, Rockdale County, and thank you, Janice Van Ness, for the efforts in doing that. We do appreciate those efforts. Second thing I want to talk about is I want to congratulate a few people for something. We had local elections this past Tuesday, and the city elected some new representatives. Mr. Pachinko was elected to a city council position. He was unopposed. So when he voted for himself, he won. But congratulations, Mr. Pachinko, for your victory. First Latin American to serve on the city council. Then we had comeback player of the year, comeback politician of Rockdale County, the Donald Trump of Rockdale County, Sherry Washington, with a 62% victory, coming in and doing that. And Alex, I know you've told me in the past that Sherry sometimes doesn't bother you because she's on the right side of tax relief a lot of times.
Well, I think I surprised a lot of people in the last election when I came out and endorsed Sherry Washington for a simple reason. She voted against every single tax increase. And if that record holds true, hopefully she'll be able to help the residents of the city of Conyers and try and avoid some tax increases there. Listen, her vote wasn't successful. She may have voted against every tax increase, but we still got them because Oz and Doreen voted for every single tax increase. But I think that record matters. I think it to me, at least, it matters.
Chuck, we talk about a lot of things on the show. You can like it or not, but this is the show. So just hold your horses. We'll get to the topic you want to hear, but everybody has a right to hear a lot of different things. And I like to talk about a lot of different things. And that's why it's called Speak Your Mind. You spoke your mind and I spoke it back. Hold your horses. That's the way we do it here on this show. So, and then also we want to congratulate Connie Alsobrook for being elected mayor. And that's, Chuck, you may have heard all you wanted to hear, but it's my show. You don't like it, hit the door. That's the way it works. So, but Connie, congratulations for winning and for being the first female and African-American mayor of City of Conyers. Thank you. And thank you for running and thank you for your service, Connie. So, that's the way we do it. Correct?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Hey, listen, I talk about what I want to talk about on my show. You talk about what you want to talk about on your show, and people choose to tune in or they don't. But yeah, congratulations. I mean, for Connie, what was it? 70%?
68%.
Well, 68.5%, I think. I'm rounding up to 70. That's as decisive a victory as you could ever get. Especially now when things are so, when we are so, we're at each other's throats constantly as parties. For a candidate to walk away with 68.5%, 70%, that is huge. So yeah, congratulations. And Sherry, 63 or something. I know
it was 61 point something. It was rounded up to 62%, and it was a very impressive victory.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
And you just got to give it to anybody.
Victories.
So anybody who's ever run for office, and two of us in here have run for office, and we've suffered defeats and victories, Justin and I. Well, we know. So that's when you run for office, you take a beating. You really, really do. And I understand it. And I've been on the receiving end of beating and the giving end of beatings when it comes to political process. So, like I said, congratulations to those folks. And that's part of what's going on here locally. And a lot of people don't know, and that's why we mention these kind of things, because not everybody knows. Because there were a lot of people didn't even know we was having an election. That's why, even though the turnout was better than usual for this type of election, it was still very dismal. It was still very low turnout. And that's sad, but it's true, right? So very interesting. So while we've talked about parade and we've talked about some local politics, and what we're going to talk about now, it's still local politics, but it's just spicy local politics. So we're going to talk about economic development, and we're going to talk about what would it look like if a Buc-ee's would come and open up a business right here in Rockdale County off the interstate. Alex, you want to start, because you did a little video this week, and I think 20-some thousand views, nice little viewers, a lot of comments. So why don't you start us off with, your perception of this and what you have unearthed.
Well, a couple of things first. There are other options. So I only know what I know, right? This is a process that's been handled behind the scenes, a lot of it in executive session. I have something to say about that. Maybe we'll get into it later. But when I found out about the Buc-ee's, I had to decide whether to go public with it, only knowing a portion of the information. And I don't like to do that. I don't like to come to people with only a snippet. Unfortunately, in this instance, all I have is the snippet. I don't know what the other options are that are on the table. And they may very well be entirely viable options for Rockdale County. And this is why I think these things should be done in the open, front facing, so that we know what the options are available to us. I decided to just do the video, publish it, and let people know, because I think it's an opportunity for Rockdale. I knew that at least one of the commissioners was on the fence, and I thought maybe some public opinion will give them some insight into what the people of Rockdale feel. And from what I've seen from the comments, the vast majority are very much in favor of this Buc-ee's development, which is I think good news, because generally we're opposed to absolutely everything.
We oppose everything in Rockdale County, right? I said, what you say you're going to do something here, and people get signs and picket signs, and they're out there on
Right.
Main Street, and they're marching right across the road from the Board of Commissioners office, and it's like, hell no, don't bring this here. I mean, and that's
Right.
every single time
Right.
that somebody wants to bring something here. And even on the show, I've actually said we've got to stop being against everything.
Right. And I'm going to talk about executive session, because you're both here. You're both elected officials. You both get to operate if under certain circumstances in executive session. And I want to say that I think maybe personally, the only thing that should be done, maybe you guys can tell me of some other things, but I think the only thing that should be done in executive session is personnel issues or human resources issues. I think anything involving public funding, public land, like this, I think should be fully transparent and fully open to the public to inspect documents and to inspect bids and be able to make a balanced, a reasonable, rational decision. I don't know if you guys agree with that, being in a position, an elected position.
You're actually going to, just for me personally, and I've had conversations with Justin, I'm not going to speak for him, but me personally, I agree that executive session needs to be limited to the very things it's supposed to be limited to, and not used in a broad range. And I think my personal thing, Alex, is I believe the county, because they've had this 3 commission person for so long, I believe that's one of the reasons they expand this executive session the way they do, so that they can have conversations. Like I said, on the Board of Education, we don't have to do that. 3 of us can have a conversation about something at any time we want, because there's 7 of us. So,
Right.
3 of us can go out to dinner, or we can meet somewhere and have a conversation about something. And unfortunately, I think when you've got these tight numbers on these boards, unfortunately, I think they abuse the executive session. That's my opinion. But I think executive session should be used for tight reasoning and only those reasoning. Justin, you've got comment on those.
Yeah, Larry, I appreciate it. You and I have had numerous conversations about this, and where we're going to differ is I don't have a problem with executive session having this conversation in private, because to me, having a public discussion on the commissioner's dais about what we're going to sell this land for is sort of like having a real estate agent that represents both the buyer and the seller. So what the commissioners are trying to do is maximize the amount of money that we get into the public coffers with this land sale, not show our hand as to what the least amount of money that we'll take for this property versus what we're trying to get out of this property. As soon as that goes public, Buc-ee's comes back with the lowest option that we'll accept. What the problem that I have is that there was never a discussion with the public that the offer was even made, even if keeping the amount of money that was offered out of the public domain.
Yeah, the negotiation itself being out of the public domain, but the fact that there were deals in the making should not have been out of the public domain.
You said it best, that how do we know what we're supporting versus what we're not supporting when we only know of one offer? We don't know what else is being offered for that property? How can we make an educated push to the Board of Commissioners as to what it is we want for that property? Right now, we're receiving overwhelming support of a Buc-ee's to go in that property, only because that's the only option of which we're aware.
Well, Alex, I mean, and I think, some people have put on here about the jobs. I mean, we've done some research, I think all three of us, and, the Buc-ee's a store usually employs over 200 people, and the lowest pay is $18 to $23 an hour for entry level, unskilled people. And then as people gain skills, the hourly rate is like 23 to 43. And then the salary positions are like 175 to 2.25 for managerial positions. I mean, we're not talking about low paying jobs. We're talking about nice paying jobs with good benefits.
Right. And I, that 200 number is for one of their average stores. This is supposedly this is going to be a bigger flagship store. It could be far more than 200. We really, again, honestly, we don't know definitively at the moment. But I would assume a flagship store was going to have I think even better options for residents when it comes to jobs.
Yeah, and I think, and you're right. And I think we're being conservative on some of the things we're saying because we don't know. And we want to stay on the conservative side with things and not give too rosy of a picture on something. But like I said, and, I've actually talked with a lot of people in government, and whatever. And I was asked about, well, what do you think about a mixed use development or whatever? And I know what mixed use development looks like, right? And I use the example of Flat Shoals and Parker Road, the apartment complex and the shopping complex that Amici's once was in, which 3/4 of the storefronts are open. That's what mixed use development looks like in Rockdale County. And that is a better location for a mixed use development than what would be this location at Sigmund Road and Iris Drive. So I think probably the best location for a mixed use development in Rockdale County hasn't succeeded. So what would make us think that a location that's not as good as that one will succeed? And that's my opinion about it. And we also hear this: Rockdale County is ideally positioned, right? We've heard that for a decade. Well, we weren't ideally positioned for factories to come here or big brand stores. They've not come here. Could it have been that we have all of this time been ideally positioned for a Buc-ee's, and we might not ever get the opportunity for something else like this to come here? And would we want to pass that up? So what are we ideally positioned for if we don't let anything come here? I want that explained to me. What are we ideally positioned for when we don't want anything to come here? And that's my $1 million question.
I think it's a $10 million question, or what?
Hey, it is a $10 million. It is a $10 million question. It is a $10 million question. So, Alex, I mean, so it is interesting. So, let's just, like your video, you mentioned some numbers, just hypothetical, if the store would be a certain size. What numbers did you come up with as far as SPLOST revenues and tax revenues and such? So, I mean, I think people want to know that stuff.
Yeah, so let's start with tax revenue, because that happens immediately. We don't have to wait for the property is on the market. My understanding is for $10 million. So while it's undeveloped, it'll be 40% of $10 million, and then it's taxable at 40% of fair market value commercial property at 21 mils, or give or take whatever we're at here in Rockdale. You're looking at about the first year's tax revenue on the undeveloped property. I don't remember. I think it was like 100, maybe $100,000. After that, once it's developed, Buc-ee's have said they're going to invest about $50 million into it. It's going to end up with a fair market value of around $24 million. That'll bring in about $500,000 a year, give or take, in taxes alone. Then the estimate is that they'll do about $200 million in sales at this location, Larry. Was it? Let me verify again. Sorry, I can't remember when I put the video out.
I think you said 200 million.
Yeah, so 200 million in sales, and we have two splosts currently. The I'm going to call it the general splost.
We have two.
and
We have
the
and we have a host.
Oh yeah, and we have host as well. That's right. So at a
Which
penny
would
on
go
the dollar,
directly toward your property tax.
property tax relief. So at a penny on the dollar, each of those on 200 million would collect $2 million per year. So I guess that's 6 million right there. $500,000 in property taxes. There is a Georgia state incentive.
It's an economic development incentive, right?
Thank you. An economic development incentive that allows the county to apply for the state's share of the fuel tax. So I think that's 4 cents per gallon. On average, Buc-ee's does, I mean, it can vary, but anywhere between 10 and 20 million gallons this isn't a number that's published by Buc-ee's. This is an estimate from I guess experts in the industry, anywhere from 10 to 20 million. This being a flagship store, maybe it'll be even more. But let's assume it's the 20 million at 4 cents a gallon. That is that would be $1.6 million a year for the first 4 years for that state tax rebate. Well, actually, $400,000 to $800,000 a year, 4 cents a gallon, depending on the volume of fuel. So anywhere from 1.6 to $3.2 million in over the 4 years in fuel tax rebates as well. So that would end ultimately, but still, it's a nice incentive initially.
And that's money that could be well used in this county because this county is inundated with debt, and that could go a long way in solving some debt issues. And then also, I think a business like this would actually bring other opportunities to the county, Alex.
That's what's happened in other areas. Buc-ee's is a draw. Buc-ee's sends a message that, in this instance, Rockdale's open for business. Rockdale is investable. If Buc-ee's thinks it's worth investing here, other companies are going to look at it and reconsider. People like Whole Foods, for example, may take another, I say another, I don't know if they've looked at Rockdale, but they may take a look at Rockdale in a new light when they see somebody like Buc-ee's move in and invest this kind of money in this region.
Well, and Mary brought a point, and I think you and I have discussed this, and Justin, that this would be the Buc-ee's, if this development would happen, that this would be the closest that Buc-ee's is to a metropolitan area. So, and like I told you, you would have a unique thing of over 6 million people being within 90 minutes of this Buc-ee's. So there you've got people. I mean, people plan trips around Buc. Justin, you just did a trip. Did you plan your trip to go to make sure you made a Buc-ee's trip?
Yeah, it was going to a wedding in North Georgia, and we were trying to figure out, are we going to pass the Buc-ee's going to Dalton? Because I knew there was one up there, but I'd never been. And sure enough, in Calhoun. And so we made a point to stop there, and we had pictures. And I mean, each child got to pick 2 things, but obviously we walked out with more than that. I mean, it was $80, $80 to $100 every time we stop at a Buc-ee's. And so these are tax dollars. As you said, Buc-ee's is a destination. So it's not like the revenue and the income or excuse me, the sales tax revenue that we would reap from the Buc-ee's is going to come entirely from within Rockdale County or, or close neighbors. This is a destination. The closest one out west is Leeds, Alabama. Closest one east is Florence, South Carolina. I mean, there's hundreds of miles of space where this would be the singular Buc-ee's in the east-west corridor, and the number of people that would stop and just pour money into our community. It's to me, it's too much of a no-brainer not to go ahead and accept this proposal and get this Buc-ee's at Sigmund Road.
I was talking to some people yesterday at the parade, and the day before they had made a trip to Buc-ee's, and I don't know which one they went to, but they made a trip to bring back dinner from Buc-ee's.
Tour buses stop at Buc-ee's.
Yes.
People take tour buses to these places, and they don't just stop at Buc-ee's. They'll from that point, they'll go and explore the surrounding area. I mean, this could be a boon for downtown Conyers, for Old Town. It could be an absolute boon, far more so than the administrative complex development. That's not bringing any tourists to town. I can promise you that. A Buc-ee's probably will, and I know that sounds far-fetched, but this is what other regions have experienced from a Buc-ee's opening there. It's crazy. I do want to talk about gas stations because, as hard as it is to believe, people are feeling sympathetic for other gas stations in the region. I won't be using Buc-ee's for fuel because I don't go that way, right? Even though I work in Marietta, I don't take I-20 from Conyers to Wesley Chapel. I go the back way. So I'm going to be skipping that region. The only time I'll stop in there is to pick up a brisket sandwich, probably 6 or 8 times a week. But I'm kidding. So I'll be going to the same gas stations I generally go to. I have my Kroger card and I earn my Kroger fuel points, and chances are I'm just going to be hitting up Kroger again. But even if that's not the case, don't feel bad for a gas station. It doesn't make any sense. If Buc-ee's are providing, if what Corliss posted earlier is the same for all of their locations, and they're 30 cents a gallon cheaper than everybody else, that's a good thing.
Everybody else will be 30 cents cheaper too. They will all do price. Everybody matches. They all check each other's prices and drop to where they need to for their area, and we all know that'll happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, and you're right, Alex. I don't think we need to be concerned about it, because I think most of those other gas stations will survive.
Oh yeah, they're going to do fine.
They're going to do fine. And like I told you, I think since this is a unique thing, 6.5 million people within 90 minutes, you will have people making day trips just to come to Buc-ee's from around this area. Because like I said, there were people I talked to at the parade the other day who had made a day trip to one of the Buc-ee's that's a few hours from here to get dinner. And that was interesting, right? So, but you're right. I mean, and then when I make trips, we make trips and we know we're going to go in the direction of a Buc-ee's. We'll time our trip to know we time the Buc-ee's stop. So, I mean, everybody does that. I mean, you're right. Buc-ee's is a destination, right? People plan trips around it. They plan whatever. One of the things we do is they've got different T-shirts for everything that's going on. So our granddaughters get T-shirts for everything, right? So they get their Halloween T-shirts, they get their Thanksgiving T-shirts, they get their Christmas T-shirts. So I mean, and the other little trinkets that they have. So yeah, it's it is what it is. And then people were also talking about traffic, and I want to talk about this because I'm in the highway business, okay? And I like to look at the infrastructure and how they do it at all the Buc-ee's. But what they usually do is design the infrastructure uniquely for the exit or the situation where they've built that particular Buc-ee's. One of them I can specifically talk about is Brunswick. So apparently that needed about $3 million worth of highway infrastructure work. Well, Bucky's reimbursed the state for that $3 million, Alex.
Right.
So
Yeah,
Bucky's,
that's what I understand. They cover the cost.
they
of
cover the
infrastructure.
cost for the infrastructure.
Yeah.
So if they're willing to cover the cost for the infrastructure, make their own access roads. Now, is it busy traffic to get off and onto a Bucky's? If you're going to the Bucky's, but they usually design it so that it's just access to Bucky's.
Right.
That is
I also-
busy. You know what I mean? So you
just
don't
as
have
impor-
the other.
Exactly. Just as importantly, because, you know, a lot of people might say, well, they can do that if they're getting a tax abatement. Just as importantly, from what I understand, they're not asking for any tax abatements either.
I asked that question specifically and was told that no, they have not asked for a tax abatement.
Right. Yeah. This is a, this,
And
I mean,
I
this is
think
a,
the research that Justin's done, Justin, out of 3 or 4 that you looked at, there was only one of them that probably got a tax abatement.
Yes, and that is a newer one. The one in Peach County did not look like they got a tax abatement. The one in Calhoun did not. I think the one in Brunswick may have, but I can't verify that.
But and it was because they had a deal to go through the development authority, because you can tell with the land deeding. So we're not certain what went on there.
Right.
But that one wasn't sort of a cut and dry one. And Chuck made a point, right? And I did ask this, and it was alluded to me, suggested to me that yes, the one of the other deals that there are tax abatements on the hook for it, right?
yeah.
So
also-
and I did ask, and I was told 6 to 8 years before we started getting anything. And if it's 6 to 8 years before you start getting anything, that means there's tax abatements hooked to it.
Yeah, I don't know. I was told by our chairman. Look, credit to the chairman. She offered to talk about all this if I signed an NDA. Obviously, I'm not going to sign an NDA. But again, she was able to give me a little insight without giving me too many details. And the long and the short of it is the other options that are on the table. And again, I want to make it clear, I don't know what they are. But what I do know is that they won't start paying effectively for. I was told years.
Yep.
You were
Well,
told 6 years. I was simply
I was told
years.
6 to 8, and then I was also told that one of them is a mixed use development.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, this to me, even not knowing all of the information, that right there makes this one a no-brainer. Just that one detail right there, that the other 2 options on the table, we won't see any benefit from them for 6 years, you say, that makes Bucky's an absolute no-brainer to me. It brings jobs, it brings revenue, immediate revenue, and look at what it will add to the SPLOST. I mean, you're both on the school board. Could you do with an extra $2 million a year?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And we can do with that
So-
extra $500,000 property tax that you're talking about.
Yes.
Because remember, guys, we are one of only 6 school districts in the state of Georgia that did not opt out of 581.
And we listen to the community. Their overwhelming support of 581, and we are not ignorant to the fact that I mean, it puts stress on the school system itself when they are developing a budget. There are things that they want to do that is going to require increased revenue. They want to give teachers a pay raise, and in order to do that, we need this revenue. Of course, we can't use SPLOST fund or eSPLOST funds for salaries, but what we can do is alleviate those items that we can take out of the general budget and fund with the eSPLOST funds that we would reap from a Bucky's immediately, as you said, and try to take that out of the budget and use those funds to give our teachers the increase, salary increase that they deserve. It makes complete sense to go ahead and accept this and have the immediate benefit of the revenues that we would
I
receive.
agree. And remember, that $2 million is just the beginning.
Right.
Other businesses will follow. And all you need, think about it. Bucky's alone would be 10% of the SPLOST, 10% from one business. if another flagship business moves in, who's to say that that's not going to be another 10%?
But, yeah, Bill Campbell, I want to highlight something that he said here, right? And as an elected official, I want to, tell Bill, I get it, I understand, but I'm actually going to fight for what he's talking about here. So I do want to put this up here, right? So Bill says, guys, I don't believe that they will receive, we will receive any relief on our taxes. The money will be spent on other things. So, and I get that, Bill, because that's what we've seen, right? That's what we've seen government do, and I agree that needs to stop. Just because we find another revenue source doesn't mean we need to, okay, here's an extra $2 million. Let's go spend it. Let's say hold the horses a little bit. Do we actually need to spend it? And are there things that we can cut and use this as some relief and some additional funding? We've got to start being more fiscally responsible as government entities and not think money grows on trees. And that's my opinion about it.
I'll say this because I'm not on the school board. That is coming from a member of the current board, and if Rockdale citizens want that to continue to be the outlook of our board, you have to make sure you send the right people back to serve on the board. Our board of commissioners, I don't know about anybody else, but I just saw a decrease in my property taxes. It was minimal, but it was a decrease and it was a start, and it's more than I've seen from the Board of Commissioners in over 8 years. So I hope,
and I'm going to tell you, Alex,
that will continue.
You got that decrease partially because of the rollback, and because of 581, because you were frozen. Okay, and I'm going to throw a bone to the Board of Education right now. I'm going to throw a bone to the Board of Education, and I will tell you this. If the Board of Education had not held strong and stayed with their feet strong and stayed in 581, the city nor the county would have stayed in 581. They would have both opted out.
We would have seen another 15-20% tax increase. So
people who
thank
think
you both, obviously.
Well, but people, because the Board of Education gets a lot of criticism, right? But I want people to know, we were the drivers of your economic development, whether you think we were or not. And I'm going to throw that bone to us because people need to know you got that because of your board staying strong for you and listening to this community. Now, again, I'm not speaking on behalf of the board. I'm speaking as myself, a singular board member, and that's my opinion. Because I got to say that, or they may put me in the back room and have a conversation with me. So
yeah, I think that's very fair.
Laughing.
And I should give that caveat too, that anything that I've said tonight is my own personal opinion, and I'm not speaking on behalf of the entirety of the Board of Education for Rockdale County.
Well, it's perfectly fair. I mean, it's you should take credit for what you did, because it was great for Rockdale County. Again, if people want that to continue, if they want to keep that responsibility, that fiscal responsibility on the board, then pay attention to who you're voting for. I obviously say send these two back, but that's me.
If I can say one thing, I mean, we're talking about irresponsibility of the Board of Commissioners, past Board of Commissioners, past Board of Education, not spending money wisely. I get that, but we don't need to use that as some sort of justification to poo-poo the idea of Buc-ee's coming to Rockdale County. If you don't like how those tax dollars are being spent as they come into the county, vote us out. If you don't like a vote that I have made and how we're managing those funds, vote me out and get somebody that you think is better qualified to handle those funds. But I would rather have access to the funds than just to say no to the opportunity because we're worried about squandering tax revenue.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think Bill is opposed to Buc-ee's. I think Bill is just used to government like the rest of us, and unfortunately, we've have a history well, not just in Rockdale, all over, of governments just wasting money. Now we're, like I say, I think we've seen an improvement here in Rockdale, and like I said, I hope those improvements continue. I hope that next year I see a bit more tax relief. I'm not
and you're
looking.
right.
I'm not
I think
looking
we've
for
seen,
taxes to go away.
I think we've seen vast improvement, but from the county and from the Board of Education
Mhm.
over this last year, and I think we will continue to see more improvement. Um, oh no, Bill, we know you didn't say no to the plan. We know you're just hammering the record of the entities
Right.
that are the taxers. We totally get that, right? And and that's why we know.
Except for Sherry Washington.
And I want to say, Bill, I know that you weren't trying to say no to the plan, but I just don't want that argument to be made in opposition to the Buckies.
Yeah. I mean, and you know what I'm saying, and I just want openly people to know that that I intend to watch our budget, that's present, that we're formulating on the board, and I think we need to do things wisely moving forward, and maybe think about things differently. And that's my opinion. And that's a fundamental. I have a fundamental difference personally from how it's perceived you're supposed to govern as a board member, and I have what I refer to as the whole child approach, and then and where I say we represent the child 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, where I feel some of the others represent 188 hours a day. And I'm not saying they're wrong and I'm right. It's just we both sometimes we look at it differently as to what's representing the child the best. And I think sometimes that will reflect in some of the things we think is necessary budgetarily. And that's just want you to know, again, not speaking on behalf of the district or the board, just my personal opinion regarding this. And also I look at it as this, right? So when I go out in the public, I'm seen as two things, right? I'm seen as a member of the board, so I'll be representing the board. But first of all, you elected me. So I'm a representative of the community and the children in the community first, and I happen to sit on the board. So I look at that a little differently. I look at myself, I am an elected official. I was elected to represent the community and the children in the community. So I look at it a little differently. And the reason I think some of my colleagues look at it differently is there's an organization called the GSBA, which I don't care for. And they teach them things that I'm not aligned with. And again, that is my opinion. And there's no disclaimer from that. So that's the way that cookie crumbles.
Yeah. Well, look, I know that the SPLOST could use $2 million a year. The eSPLOST could use $2 million a year. The host could use $2 million a year to give us a bit more tax relief.
And that host getting $2 million a year would make a big difference on your tax bill.
Yeah.
It would make a significant difference.
Let's talk about traffic for a minute, because I know that's a concern of people.
Limited and isolated.
Increased traffic volume. Go look at a Buc-ee's. Just go search on Google Maps. Take a look at the Buc-ee's and take a look at how they design ingress and egress. They know how to keep traffic flowing. Now, will it result in a few more cars on county roads visiting our businesses and spending money? Well, yeah, I hope so. That's I think the point of this is to try to bring business and revenue into Rockdale. So I don't see that as a negative. I see that as again another potential positive for Rockdale, and all of this without costing us a penny, Larry.
Right. There is going to be significant traffic flow at the Buc-ee's. And again, you were right. When you go look at any of the Buc-ee's, there is a lot of traffic, but they design these things so that it flows. You can get in and out, and it moves. And they're also designed to where they're not big truck friendly, because trucks are not permitted there. And, and they're designed to be car friendly. and they are designed to get traffic in and out.
Mhm.
And even though you will have an increased traffic flow there, the infrastructure will be built to support that influx.
Yeah. But I sincerely hope that some people leave Buc-ee's and drive to Old Town and go to the restaurants and go to the shops and the businesses and provide even more opportunities for new business to open up. It's and to me, that's just one of the benefits of Buc-ee's coming to Rockdale.
So Clayton Norwig asked us about something here, and so Alex, I wasn't aware of this, so maybe some of you are. About the 150 a year to recycle, which is currently covered in taxes. Was that a city thing or a county thing? Do you know, Justin?
It's got to be city.
I honestly, I don't. Something about recycling popped up on my Facebook newsfeed, but I don't know enough about it to be able to speak intelligently about it.
Well, we've got the recycle center over here, and that's a county thing, Alex, not a city thing. So
yeah, but
did they add something?
Every time I go there, I pay. So I hope I'm not being charged twice for that.
Well, I'd go there once a week and never have to pay if I do recycling only.
Clayton says it's county, so I think it's something we're going to have to look into.
Yeah, we'll have to look into that.
Hold on a second. Charlotte knows all. Charlotte, if you know anything about the recycling fee that the county, so I mean, are we getting charged something? Corliss Kerner says no, it's county $150.
Well, to say Chuck says recycling is run by the county. I mean, I don't have a recycling vehicle that drives around. So are they going to charge us $150 for the privilege of taking our own recycling over to the recycling facility?
I think we're being charged that already somehow.
Yeah.
Corliss says it's posted on social media, so we need to go look this up. So,
yeah,
so apparently we are being charged $150 a year to do our own recycling.
Yes.
William says, yeah. Campbell says yes. So this is something that totally slipped by us, guys.
That's amazing.
So I wonder if you have to take proof of residency over there and you don't pay anymore.
That's amazing.
Well, so I have a little green placard thing that I show every time I go that says recycle only, that I had to show my driver's license and prove that I was a resident of Rockdale County. And I showed that and I'm never charged. But
Chuck just says, yeah, you get a tag. So you've got the tag. So
right.
Where'd you get it at, Justin?
That at the transfer station, the recycling center.
It starts on December 1st. So on December 1st, I guess there's okay. It has to be a resident and you have to pay. So I guess the $150 and you can just use the place all year long. Once a year fee. Any of the, but not any of the none of the recycling you don't pay for because you pay the $150 fee for the privilege of doing your own recycling, and then they sell it.
Gotcha.
Justin Clayton says, Justin, the tag will now cost $150.
I'm certainly going to dissuade recycling. I will do my diligence and still recycle. But my understanding was that place paid for itself.
And now, if you're and Chuck says if you're over 60, it's only $100.
I mean, the way they're talking is it's mandatory. It's going to be on our tax bills.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay. So thank you guys. This is something we didn't know about. So Voices for Rockdale posted it. So I'll do a little research about this and I'll talk about this next week intelligently. Yeah. I will talk about it intelligently because I'll research and know what I'm talking about. So this week we were on the fly. I want to thank everybody for throwing that out there. That's an interesting little tidbit.
Because think about it. How much is your trash bill? To have private trash pickup, what do you pay, Larry?
$60 every 3 months.
Every 3 months, so $20 a month, right?
Yeah.
So this is the equivalent of 7 months of trash pickup, but nobody picks shit up.
Yeah,
you're expected.
You do, yeah. Somebody's picking it up. You are.
Yeah, you're expected to drive it. Yeah, no. Let's
Okay,
yeah,
Chuck says no.
I
You sign up and pay to get it. It's not on your taxes.
okay. All right, that if it's optional, then fine.
And for the fee, you can haul your own trash to the center.
Well, I do that now for 50 cents a bag. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I generate very little trash.
Sherry Thomas just told me, Larry, it's breaking news. It's funny. It is breaking news. So Charlotte says it's $361 per year on the city property tax bill.
Yeah, it's interesting. We'll look into it.
We got to investigate this trash thing. It's an interesting thing. But you know, guys, I think from what we've the new fee is to stop the cash covering the cost of and she says it's optional.
So does that mean that if I choose to pay my 50 cents a bag, I continue to do that, Janice? Because I generate maybe 2 bags of trash. It's literally $1 a week for me. Or if I want to use that facility now, will it be the $150 for a year?
She said she's going to get you more information. So she'll probably
It says it's the new fees to stop the cash pay. So I assume if you want to use that facility, you're going to have to pay the $150.
Yeah. Yeah. Alex, your 50 cent days are done.
I mean, that's like a 10,000% increase for me.
Clayton says optional to pay to recycle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
no,
I'll
Alex.
have to pay the fee to use it next year.
Corla says look on Voice's page because they've got a whole thing about it.
Right.
Oh my good. Okay, Alex. Well, you're okay. So, yeah, okay. Let's trash. You know, trash is a controversial subject in Rockdale County, Alex.
It is.
It can fire people up in this county, right? It can almost cause a riot. I've seen that happen before.
Oz wasn't able to get our money. Janice is going to, it looks like.
So what? She's put another one up here, Al. Okay. So we're discussing other ways to encourage people to use the taxes to make things more efficient. A concern is also the backup of traffic onto Sigmund Road. There's a senior discount, and I think it's $100. I don't know. We'll see about that. I think we may have another trash protest. I think we may have another trash protest in Rockdale County.
Yeah, I probably see one coming.
So yeah, it's interesting. So, but yeah, guys. I mean, I think this has been a good show tonight. I think we've talked about, the pros of everything that we've seen for economic development. And I think we see it as a no-brainer, right? And I've not seen one really person to say no on here. The only negative is Bill doesn't think they're going to do the right thing with the money.
Well, and traffic. And again, I think if traffic decides, this is just me, maybe people disagree, but if people visit Buc-ee's and then decide, oh, I'm going to go to a restaurant in Old Town, that's a good thing. Even if it is another car on the road or a temper, whatever. I don't know what the increase in traffic could potentially be. But that's a good thing for Rockdale.
But you're right. Anybody who would leave there and go into the county is going to spend money.
Yeah.
They're leaving there and going into county because they're going somewhere to pull out that debit card.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's going to happen. So I mean, I think it's a good thing.
They won't be going to recycle though, because that's too expensive.
I don't think they'll be going to the recycling. I think they'll skip the recycling.
No, it's
I
a
don't.
bit
I don't think
pricey
they're
these
doing interstate trash hauling to come to a Buc-ee's.
days. It's a bit
No.
pricey these days.
No, I don't think that's going to happen. So, but hey, you know what? On Speak Your Mind, anything is up on the table for discussion, even trash.
That is a pivot I was not expecting on tonight's show, Larry.
No, but you know what? I actually enjoyed the heck out of that. Right, I did, because I think one of the most fun things I ever had was when me and about 1,000 of my closest friends marched on the Board of Commission office one day about trash.
Right. I like that our chairman's here watching and listening.
Me too.
That's what I like.
And you know, she just says it's one of the most difficult topics to address. She just says, you know what I mean? I'll put a comment up here. Yeah, it's got to be moved off site, and it's finding a long-term solution. She's 100% right. It is one of the most difficult things to address because, hey, nobody wants a trash facility in your neighborhood. That's one thing that nobody wants, right?
No, landfills and data centers. None of us want those.
So, and they will,
I'm throwing it out there seeing as Janice is watching.
I know you do.
I'm also firmly opposed to data centers.
And I'll go on the record and I'm not a data center fan either.
There you go. 100% of Rockdale agrees. No data centers.
So, that is funny. So, Janice just posted she always tries to be a 100% of it, and she does, right? And Janice, I don't know if you were on here earlier, but we commended you in the parade and a great job that was yesterday. So, I want to make sure if you didn't hear that, we really enjoyed the parade and your organization of it, and the work that you and the county did. We really appreciate that parade and the efforts that went into it. Just so you know, but yeah, guys, that's
according to Larry, it's the best parade we've seen. So now I'm excited for the Christmas parade to see if we up our game there.
Well, and I will go on the record and say I enjoyed this parade more than I did the Christmas parade. So I'm going to go on the record and say it. So now the people who organized that parade, they got to bump their game up, right, Al?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, who I don't know. Again, like you said, I'm not sure who organizes the Christmas parade, but hopefully
we've heard rumors it's the city. So I'm not going to say it's them, but we've heard rumors.
Okay,
rumors that it's the city.
Clayton, litter and illegal dumping isn't cheaper. No, you're not wrong, Clayton, and the chairman's not wrong. I mean, trash waste management is an issue, especially if a county is in the business of waste management. If we have a recycling center that's county operated, then yeah, it's an issue. I think this is why the private sector is better situated to deal with that problem. But again, that's me.
So Denise did say the city of Conyers does plan a Christmas parade, and she addressed the data center thing just now too. I am planning an upcoming economic development summit to talk about projects that are coming down the pipeline. That would include the topic of data centers.
Mm-hmm.
So, hey guys, I think we've had a good show tonight, and we are at the end of our hour. Since we started a little late because we were chopping it up beforehand, we did go a few minutes over to compensate for that tardiness of starting the show. But I do want to thank everybody for joining us tonight, and I'll be back on here next week, next Sunday at 8 p.m. to talk to you people in the sweet spot, because we had some people say they thought 8 was too late because past their bedtime, and I said 7's too early, 9's too late, 8 is the Goldilocks spot. It's just right. So that's my opinion for the show on Sunday.
Well,
so,
I want to say one thing before you sign off. Chuck Hall said that I haven't gotten any better looking since the last time I was on your show, but I hope I hadn't gotten any uglier either.
Well, no, I'm actually going to give each of you an opportunity to say something before we get off. So, and that's where I'm going with it right now. So, Justin.
Well, Corliss, real quick, Corliss says city's having the first drone Christmas light show. Have you all ever seen one of those drone UAV light shows?
When they opened the chicken place up here on 138, they had a drone light show.
Things are amazing.
They did.
If that's what the city is doing this year, everybody get out and watch that. Those things are amazing to watch.
Yes. Yep. Justin, speak your mind.
I'll be brief because we've kept y'all here long enough. But look, I'm a huge fan of the Buc-ee's. If you're a fan of Buc-ee's, do like I did and email your commissioners and voice your support thereof. It would be a boon for the county. It would be a boon for the school system, and we would be absolutely foolish not to accept the offer for Buc-ee's to come and be a part of our community.
I couldn't say it any better. I second what Justin just put out there.
So those were your comments, Al. You seconded Justin.
No, I put out my video.
You say
People know what I think.
I know.
Justin just summed it up perfectly.
Good. So guys, I mean, you saw the show tonight. You know, we had some input. We brought our opinions to the table and about that and a lot of other things, whether you wanted to hear them or not. So that's the way we roll on this show. But I want to thank all of you for tuning in tonight. And again, next week I'll be here at 8:00. Tune in and tune in and listen to us. Listen to me. I mean, it'll be interesting. We'll always have an interesting show, and people were thanking you guys for coming on the show, and I thank you for coming on the show. If you guys will hold on a second, we'll exit out of here, and guys, again,